Jurassic Park, the movie, keeps in mind the big themes in Jurassic Park, the book, while adapting it to a visual element. Jurassic Park, the movie, also keeps in mind its audience, which is much younger than those of the book. Jurassic Park questions the ethics of genetic engineering, which is a theme Michael Crichton uses in other books. He's big on research, not that most authors don't research their topics, but Michael Crichton does so extensively. He questions the science involved and he researches common topics about it before he ever begins his work. In fact, his books have a bibliography in the back of them. Jurassic Park questions the responsibility of genetic engineering, and both the book and the movie capture this well. But the book delves into more adult topics that are left out from the movie, and I feel that is the most important part. Because of the format, the book is able to delve into the adult topics around the subject far more than the movie ever could. Its audience and its visual limitations lead to a lot of boring moments if they try to capture all of the conversations and the topics that come up. Now I want to talk about John Hammond. He is by far the biggest change in personality between the book and the movie. In the movie, he was redeemable. We loved him because he loved dinosaurs and he just wanted to share his joy. In the book, that's not exactly the case. And the biggest difference is, by the end of the movie, he realizes his error. You cannot control nature. He doesn't quite come out of that delusion by the end of the book. In both cases, John Hammond focused on children. But in the book, he admits that the children of the rich were his target. I would argue in the book the most important conversation is between Henry Wu and John Hammond. It takes place in the exact middle of the book. I mean, to the page, the exact middle. But it also happens between two major events. The first event is the attack of the T-Rex on the cars, and the second is Dr. Grant finding the kids alive. The big question about Jurassic Park is it safe? And we find out that no, it isn't. But the reasons why it isn't safe are the big question that must be answered. And this conversation takes place right when the turning point happens in the book. And that brings it into stark contrast to everything else that happens. So what is this conversation? Henry Wu has worked for John Hammond his whole entire career. He was hired right out of grad school, and right when he starts to realize that there are serious errors in his genetic programming of dinosaurs, John Hammond shows his denial yet again. He does this by bringing up a very serious topic, which is pharmaceuticals versus entertainment. Pharmaceuticals have a lot of problems with it, at least from a progress standpoint. It takes patents, FDA approval, years of testing, and in the end, you cannot charge whatever you want. You charge $1,000 for a dose of medicine and you would get outrage. Versus entertainment. Now, entertainment, you create something, you can charge whatever you want. It's not a necessity and therefore unregulated. And this leads to a lot of profit, which is what John Hammond wants. And Henry Wu wants it too, just from the standpoint that research costs money. And it's easier to invest in entertainment than it is in medicine. This brings up the cold, hard realization about capitalism, which is strong today. I can understand why the movie shied away from this. After all, it's in it for profit too. And it's a very different medium, which doesn't allow for much wiggle room in its presentation. After all, it has to be quick, It has to fit into a certain time limit, and their audience is very different. I can also understand why my English department at high school had several copies of this book. It's a great one. What I don't understand is why they didn't have us read it. Yes, Shakespeare is really important to history, especially in the development of Europe at a critical time. But today's themes are not as readily discussed, and Jurassic Park, the book, accesses them beautifully. Read it. Read it.